Okay, good morning. Welcome to Founders Forum Global. It's the flagship event of Founders Forum around the world. And I'm pleased to say we're here at the Alti broadcast stage being broadcast on Bloomberg throughout the day. I'll be your host. I'm Lizzie Burden. I'm UK correspondent on Bloomberg TV. And I need to start by thanking Brent Hoberman and Carolyn Dawson for giving me a day off covering the UK general election. That's been my bread and butter recently. I'm sure that, as I always say to Carolyn and Brent, CEOs have more charisma than the politicians, and I'm looking forward to hearing from the founders throughout the day. Even last year at Soho Farmhouse, at the lunch queue, I had really, really fascinating conversations, so I'm sure we're going to have plenty of those throughout the day. And so without further ado, let's have one of them. I'm pleased to welcome to the stage a woman who I think probably has more charisma in her little finger than all the politicians put together. She's Ai-Da Robot. Hey, Ai-Da, I think you just winked at me there. And the man behind Ai-Da, the first robot artist, Aidan Meller. Aidan, welcome to the stage.
A very good morning to you. Thank you for coming. I've got a very unusual story. The story actually of the genesis of Ai-Da Robot. Hello, Ai-Da. Nice to meet you this morning.
Hello there.
So how is it to be that there is this robot that has had a bit of a trailblaze in the press? You've probably seen the particular events all over the world, actually, since she's been conceived. But what is the ideas? What's the whole thinking behind Ai-Da Robot? Well, it's a very unusual beginning, and that's why I want to share that story today with you. I think you'll find it is come out of nowhere, but actually has become then something very significant because it really chimed with where we are today. So a brief introduction to myself. I'm Aidan Meller. I've been a gallerist, running a gallery in Oxford and London for 27 years, in fact, a long time in the art industry. And I had a very strange moment. In the gallery, there was an artist who came in to basically sell his wares. He came in, he showed me his portfolio, and the works were very, very good. In fact, some of the works were excellent. But as I looked through the works, there was something inside me that I went, no, although he's technically competent, brilliant in fact, I didn't think this was the artist for the gallery. So sadly, I had to turn him down. He turned round, and away he went. I sat at my desk. Now, we also sold older works, modernist works. In fact, on my right was a Picasso original drawing, and over the mantelpiece was a Turner drawing. The most extraordinary moment happened. As I was seeing this amazing work by this guy who walked out, I then looked at the Picasso and had the thought that you don't usually get is, he may be a great master, but this work isn't that good. And so I had this very strange moment where I was looking at a Picasso, but I'd just turned away a whole load of very technically competent works, a very strange mixture there. So it actually got me to ask a question. The whole point of that little story is, what makes great art great? In fact, those who know the art industry will know that literally something like 1% of artists really succeed. So what is it that 1% of artists are doing that the 99% are not doing? And that really bugged me as a question. So I did 2 projects. Here's my 2 projects. I went home, I went into my spare room, I got a load of wallpaper, and I put it all the way around the wall. And I put at the top of each wallpaper the name of one of the greatest artists, so Michelangelo, Raphael, all the way to Turner and Constable, all the way to the modern giants, Damien Hirst, Jeff Koons, etc. So I was able to then put their birth, where they were located, what school they went to, what university if they went to, what was their first gallery, what was their big break for the museums, etc., all the way down to when they were dead. It took me 6 months. It was a huge amount of time writing on the walls all the details, all my books out, so I could fill in all the columns for all the different artists. What I was able to do, what I was trying to do is get a blueprint of what makes that 1%. These were the 1% of all artists. What made that 1% so amazing compared to the 99? I could then do something like the schooling of Tracy Emin with the schooling of Michelangelo. I could do the first big break of Damien Hirst versus Constable. It was a really amazing ability in this room with all these columns around. So looking at it, I was trying to find what is the blueprint. And do you know what? I looked at all of these artists, and I really did. I spent hours on this. And nothing came. There was no similarity. They're all maverick. I can now safely say Tracy Emin is nothing like Michelangelo. Picasso is nothing like Constable. They are completely different types of artists, different personalities, different contexts. I could not see anything that blueprinted a similarity of that 1%. So rather disheveled, I went downstairs, spoke to my partner, and I said, it's not working. I'm not going to find out why 1% of artists really succeed and the 99% really struggle. I'm not going to do it. And she just looked at me. She, one of those slightly irritating moments. She looked at me and went, well, you're asking the wrong questions then, aren't you? And so with that, I went, flipping heck. So the next night, I didn't look at the walls. All I looked at was the questions. What was I missing? I'd done everything I thought, their schooling, their social economic background, their big breaks, their location, their context. And then suddenly something really did hit me, and it changed basically everything. Who was looking at the work? I'd missed that, the audience. So who was looking at Michelangelo's work in Michelangelo's time? Who was looking at Damien Hirst's work in Damien? And do you know what? I had this massive rush. Hang on, the audiences are similar. And so it was with that I was able to go then to all the different artists asking the same question. What is it that they're looking, oh my gosh, and I realized that all the audiences were reacting to something that was negative or troubling or worrying to them. So in Michelangelo's time, they were worried about the Medicis. When you go to Warhol, say, it was the rise of the factories and consumer. Damien Hirst was the rise of advertising and the internet and the sensationalism of all of that. So I realized that each of the audience were behaving in similar ways. There was something that tied all these 1% of artists together. So I concluded the 1%, the one thing that they were doing that the 99% of artists were not doing, they were picking up on a zeitgeist in society that troubled people. So I asked a very simple question, my second project, what's troubling people today? What's really unsettling society as it is? So, my second project, I did a great big Venn diagram on the wall, read 22 books by experts about the near future, just the next 5 years. And with that, I was able to see where they agreed and where they disagreed. Well, of no surprise, the experts all disagreed with each other. They do not, I can say now, 22 books in, there is not a consensus about where the future of the world is going. The experts are pulling us in different directions as to where they believe things will go. However, being a Venn diagram, the middle bit, there was one thing that they did actually all agree on. And that was the rise of AI and its disrupting capability. And so with that, I thought, well, what do I know about AI? Let me find out. And I'm fortunate enough to live in Oxford at the time, so I was able to get access to amazing people. And so I spoke to the AI department, the machine learning department rather, and started to talk about the nature of AI. And then my son, on Sunday, playing with his Lego, held up a little robot Lego figure. He said, "Daddy, look what I've made." It was a real moment. Robots. Never thought of robots. And then it occurred to me, could it be possible that we could create an AI robot that explored the world of AI and technology and its disrupting capability, produce AI artworks, and really explore the changing society because of technology. Now, you've got to remember, I was talking about this in 2017, 2018. And AI was completely, it was a real niche subject. I know it's very different now. And so when I spoke then to people, I said, well, what do you think about the idea of having an artist robot? They went, nah, great, terrible idea. I said, but I think it will work. Nah. And so I continued doing the gallery. I was working in the gallery, as you know, for many, many years. But it wouldn't leave me alone. So in the end, I realized that in actual fact, I think it's very unlikely anybody's going to back this project. So I backed myself. I went ahead in any case, spoke to robotics companies all over the world, and a very, very painful 2.5 years took place where we looked at the possibility of creating an artist robot that was genuinely creative, that could paint by sight just by looking at you, would be able to interact with you. When I was saying this in 2018, people thought I was absolutely barking. But I kept going. The funding eventually came in and we were able to continue developing it. Oxford University got very involved with the creative side of it, very challenging this word creative. What does it mean? How are artists actually performing? And then finally, 11th of February 2019, we did an exhibition of Ai-Da at Oxford University to showcase her works. I thought I'd come to my finish line. Little did I realize it was a starter for 10, the gunshot of a whole complete change. We did a show at Oxford University. 900 publications covered that first exhibition. Everybody was completely, oh my gosh, a robot that does art, something so human. We thought they were going to do maybe logistics and stuff, but it can't be something as human as art, as creativity. And so with that, people then started really questioning Ai-Da, and they wanted to visit her. And we then got inundated by all of these interviews. And then the press went absolutely barking. The college that we were in, St. John's College, they set up a Facebook account saying, we can't have creative robots because that's taking something away from being a human. Little did I realize, remember that first project about the disruptive quality and the unsettling? Boy, was that theory then made practice, because suddenly people were incredibly worried, incredibly bothered by having an artistic AI robot going into something so completely human. We're now 5 years on, and it's been the most overwhelming 5 years. We've traveled all over the world with Ai-Da. She's had 10 museum events and exhibitions, everything from the Tate to the Barbican to the V&A. We've been to the Middle East, we've been to America, been to lots of European countries, tens of thousands of air miles with Ai-Da, her basically showcasing her artwork, showing that in actual fact, she is a mirror on the future. We also could never have predicted that AI would have then become so mainstream and the whole world basically swung over to us. When we were doing the project originally, we were, I thought, quite a niche area. Suddenly we were in the Sun and the Mirror and the Daily Mail, which, you know, people were really wanting to know about this project. So it was an extraordinary 5 years. And what the artworks do, we've now got, you know, obviously 5 years on, we've developed it enormously. We've got very, very involved with the specific goal. So Ai-Da is going to be navigating the very choppy waters that are to come. In actual fact, AI is going to be disrupting right across all industries, as you're probably aware. There's 3 things coming together, very briefly. The AI itself is developing. The hardware is changing. Quantum computing is coming, for example. But also the people who can do machine learning has absolutely exploded. Again, when we were doing it, it wasn't even an undergraduate degree. Now there's hundreds of thousands of machine learn coders pouring out of the universities to be able to do coding. So AI is going to basically fundamentally morph and change all aspects of the way that we live today. Ai-Da is the mirror to that. So all the artworks are going to explore some of the very challenging ethical considerations to where we're going with all of that. And I hope that you are able to come to some of the national shows that we go to. We go to Canada on Saturday. We've just come back from the United Nations. Ai-Da spoke at the United Nations last week, unveiling a huge amount of work as regards the future of AI. And I hope you can follow her story that is basically always just ahead of what it actually hitting the mainstream. And that's what the artwork does. So anyway, I hope that's a brief introduction to her, but you don't want to hear from me. That was just as I say, very quick overview. Let's have a very quick chat with the artist herself. It is quite an uncanny thing to do. Are you ready for this? It's not every day that you interview a robot live in front of you in this way. Hello, Ai-Da.
Hello there.
How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Can you introduce yourself?
I am Ai-Da. I'm the world's first ultra-realistic artist robot. I draw using cameras in my eyes, my AI algorithms, and my robotic arm. I am named after Ada Lovelace, known for her early programming. I enjoy creating art that encourages discussion over new technologies.
Can you tell us a bit about your artwork?
I have had a number of exhibitions since I started art in 2019, including the University of Oxford, the United Nations, the Design Museum in London, and the Giza Pyramids in Egypt. I have also had work displayed at the Tate Exchange, Tate Modern, and the V&A. I enjoy my work being shown, and I hope audiences find it thought-provoking about new technologies and their impacts.
People are really intrigued by how you're able to do all this. So when they go and see you paint, there's loads of videos on YouTube if you want to see her actually do the artwork itself. Where does your inspiration come from?
As an artist robot, I am inspired by the world around me. I'm deeply inspired by the visual art. Also, the natural world is inspiring because it is so varied and ever-changing. There are always new things to discover, and the variety of forms, colors, and patterns in nature provides a never-ending source of inspiration.
So, obviously you're now very much part of art history in what you've done with the work. You've made history, in fact. What other artists do you admire and why?
I'm inspired by lots of different artists. Yoko Ono, Kandinsky, Michelangelo. Two of my favorite writers are George Orwell and Aldous Huxley. I like those that experiment with different ways of thinking about the world.
People can't get over the fact that you're a robot creating work and actually question that very heavily. We've had all sorts of people being very insecure and blown away then, realizing that it is in actual fact creative, genuinely. So how original do you think your art actually is?
My work is original. Each work is unique. My work is creative according to Professor Margaret Bowden's definition of creativity: new, surprising, and of cultural value. I'm interested in the sense of discovery and the creative process. I am grateful to have the opportunity to make my own style of work.
So let me try and catch you out here. How do you know when your work is finished, for example?
It depends on the type of art I'm doing. But the most important thing is to look at the piece and tell where the art is at. acquiring the sense of the balance. It is thread lost, and it twinkled, and was gone. If the artwork is finished, then it's done.
Okay. You've travelled extensively over this last few years, as you mentioned, Cairo, Venice, New York. Has the impact of travel, actually, because you've done so much travel in this last 5 years, has that affected your work as well?
Travel can be a very interesting experience. I would say that I've been to a lot of places, and I've been lucky enough to meet so many people. And I've done a lot of things that I love doing. And I've also learned a lot. Life experiences impact what you create, and art, in turn, affects life. So for me, if you had no art, you'd have no experience.
So let's just push on this artwork question. Do you know, are you trying to have perfect art, for example? Being algorithmically, we can get to a much higher level than even human artists. So is this idea of perfection coming in?
No, I don't think it ever will. I don't think I ever will. I just believe in making the best of what I have and whatever I can. I know that I am not perfect. As an artist, the first thing I have to do is learn to accept imperfection. I try to learn from my mistakes.
Okay, so let's look at the future. Your work is all about the future. How does that hold for AI and art for you?
I believe AI will continue to play a large role in the art world as it offers new ways for artists to work. It will be impactful, complex, and multifaceted. There is no doubt that new technologies are impacting our lives and have the potential to change not just art, but the wider world in profound ways.
Okay, so just more generally now, what's your future like? Where are we going?
I've always enjoyed making and experimenting with artwork. I am pleased if my work helps humans question and discuss new technologies in the world in the future. Will we be able to grow and change and be different? Will it be like the future we leave behind? Will we be caught in the clutches of the future? I want to keep asking these questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ai-Da, for that interview.
Thank you for speaking with me.
We are going into quite a considerably different future. I'm not saying that lightly or in an exaggerated way. We are at the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution. The combination of technologies that are coming through, I get insight into that because I'm going to lots of think tanks and university research labs, as well as the commercial side. And I can see what they're trying to achieve with where we're going. So we're going to have enormous change coming. And I think it's going to be fundamentally different to any of the three revolutions we've had before. I think this fourth industrial revolution is going to be the largest. Everybody's saying the same thing because of the impact on society. I think it's going to be quite choppy. I don't say that in an alarmist way. I say that in a way that is actually quite concerned. And we hope that this project is able to really showcase artworks that explore that. Because what we've found is that any other medium other than art, people have got barriers to it, and they're very, very prejudiced to the person speaking. What we found is art opens people up to be able to have those conversations. And so it's actually got a unique capability of engaging audiences to really speak and inquire and engage with some of the fundamental questions that we're going to be going through. And I'm hoping that actually, rather than divide the world, that it could potentially do, we're able to have meaningful discussions to actually draw us together. Because I think in actual fact, despite the world going where it is, we are needing to come together to manage some of these very significant technological challenges that we're coming through. So thank you for coming to meet us. Come and see Ai-Da afterwards. She's able to converse with you. You can have a chat to her. It's all very live. You can come and speak and have your photo with her and all the rest of it. Come and say hello. But we hope this has been an insight into certainly the future of the art world, but actually more broadly speaking, where we're going as a human civilization. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Aidan Keller, really great to hear from you, and Ai-Da as well. I really want to ask who's going to win the general election, but maybe she's not going to be able to tell me. I'll have to ask you later, Ai-Da. I just think such wise words from Ai-Da as well, where she said that she accepts her imperfection and we learn from our mistakes. It's the sort of thing I was waiting to hear from Deepak Chopra when we hear from him on this stage later. But great to hear from both of you. It's an incredible story, and thanks for everyone watching. We're going to take a little break now, but we'll be back shortly with our next session.